The warning sirens screamed through every corridor of the stellar horizon. Red lights flashed in patterns that made Daehyun's eyes hurt, but he kept his hands steady on the engineering console. The numbers on his screen were bad. Very bad. Engine 3 is gone, he said into his communicator, trying to keep his voice calm. Engine 4 is losing power fast. Captain Yuna's voice came back through the static. Can you give me anything, Daehyun? Anything at all? He looked at the failing systems and made a quick decision. I can give you 30 seconds of thrust. Use it to aim for that moon, the big one with the flat surface. 30 seconds isn't much. It's all we have, Captain. Daehyun's fingers moved across the controls. He rerouted power from life support, from the gravity generators, from everything that wasn't completely necessary for the next minute. The ship groaned around him like a dying animal. Metal bent and twisted in ways it was never meant to bend. Through the small window in the engineering bay, he could see the moon getting closer. It was gray and lifeless, covered in dust and rocks. Not a good place to land, but better than exploding in space. The ship started shaking. Daehyun grabbed onto his console as the floor tilted. Tools and equipment slid across the room, crashing into walls. Somewhere below him, he heard a massive explosion. That would be Engine 4 giving up completely. Brace for impact. Yuna's voice shouted through the speakers. Daehyun barely had time to duck under his console before the world turned into noise and pain. The ship hit the moon's surface at an angle. The hull screamed as it scraped across rock and dust. Daehyun felt himself thrown sideways, then up, then down. Something heavy fell on top of him. He heard the sound of metal tearing, glass breaking, and his own heart pounding in his ears. Then, for a moment, everything was quiet. Daehyun opened his eyes. He was lying on his side under a support beam. His console was sparking above him, showing error messages in 3 different languages. The room was dark except for the emergency lights. He tried to move and immediately knew something was wrong. Pain shot through his chest when he breathed. His left arm didn't want to work properly. His legs felt strange, like they belonged to someone else, but he was alive. That was good. Hello? He called out. His voice sounded weak. He tried again, louder. Is anyone there? This is Daehyun in engineering. No answer. The communicator on his belt was broken. He could see the cracked screen from where he lay. Daehyun took a slow breath, ignoring the pain, and started to push himself out from under the beam. It was heavy, probably 100 kilograms of solid metal. He used his right arm, the one that still worked okay, and pushed against the floor. The beam shifted. Pain exploded in his ribs, but he kept pushing. Slowly, inch by inch, he dragged himself free. When he finally got out, he lay on the floor for a moment, breathing hard. His left shoulder looked wrong. The bone was sticking up where it shouldn't be. Broken collarbone, he thought. He'd broken that bone twice before, once playing soccer when he was 12 and once falling off a cliff while hiking. He knew what it felt like. Daehyun rolled onto his right side and used the wall to pull himself up. Standing was harder than he expected. His legs were shaky and something in his back felt off. But he was up and he could walk. The door to engineering was jammed. He had to kick it 3 times before it opened enough for him to squeeze through. Each kick sent fresh pain through his body, but the door finally gave way. The corridor outside was a disaster. Panels hung from the ceiling. Wires sparked and hissed. The floor was tilted at a strange angle. Daehyun could see stars through a crack in the hull about 20 meters away. He started walking, using the wall for support. His goal was to find the captain. Yuna had been on the bridge when they crashed. The bridge was at the front of the ship, and from the way things looked, the ship had broken in half on impact. Daehyun made it about 10 meters before he heard footsteps. He looked up and saw Koth, the ship's medical officer, running toward him. Koth was a Vrelian, tall and thin with gray skin and large black eyes. Right now those eyes were very wide, Daehyun! Koth stopped in front of him. You're bleeding. You're covered in blood. Sit down right now. I'm okay, Daehyun said. We need to find the captain. You are not okay. Look at you. Koth pulled out his medical scanner, a small device that looked like a flashlight. He pointed it at Daehyun and pressed a button. The scanner beeped. Then it beeped again, faster. Then it started making a continuous alarm sound. Koth stared at the screen on his scanner. His face, which was usually calm and professional, showed pure horror. What? Daehyun asked. You have 17 fractures, Koth said quietly. 17 broken bones. Your ribs, your collarbone, your arm, both legs, your spine. How are you standing? How are you even conscious? Daehyun looked down at himself. He was covered in dust and blood, mostly from cuts on his head and arms. His left arm hung at a weird angle. Now that Koth mentioned it, he could feel all the injuries. The broken ribs hurt when he breathed. His legs felt like someone had hit them with a hammer. His back was a mess of dull, grinding pain. "Oh, that," he said. "Yeah, I thought something might be broken. But we really need to find Captain Yuna. She was on the bridge when we hit." Koth's mouth opened and closed several times. No sound came out. He looked at his scanner again, then at Dae-hyun, then back at the scanner. "You have 17 broken bones," Koth repeated, like saying it again would make Dae-hyun understand. "You need surgery. You need to lie down immediately." "You could die. I'll be fine," Dae-hyun said. He started walking again, moving past Koth. "Come on. The captain needs us." Behind him, he heard Koth make a sound that might have been a whimper. Then the medical officer started following him, still holding his scanner like it might explode. Dae-hyun focused on putting one foot in front of the other. He'd been hurt worse than this before. Well, maybe not worse, but at least as bad. There was that time he'd fallen down a ravine during a camping trip. Or when he'd been in that car accident on Earth. The important thing was to keep moving. Find the captain. Make sure everyone was safe. Then he could worry about his broken bones. The pain was bad, but pain was temporary. His bones would heal. They always did. He just had to stay conscious long enough to help his crew. Koth had never seen anything like this in his 20 years as a medical officer. He had treated injuries from explosions, radiation burns, diseases from 100 different worlds. But nothing had prepared him for watching a patient with 17 fractures walk around like he had a mild headache. "Please stop moving," Koth said for the 5th time. "Every step you take could make your injuries worse." Dae-hyun ignored him and kept walking down the tilted corridor. The human was moving slowly, using the wall for support, but he was moving. By all the medical knowledge Koth had learned, this should be impossible. "The spine fractures alone should have you paralyzed," Koth continued, following behind the human. "And your ribs, if even one of them punctures a lung, you will suffocate." "Do humans not understand basic biology?" "My lungs are fine," Dae-hyun said without turning around. "If a rib had gone through, I'd be coughing blood." "You are coughing blood. I saw you cough blood 2 minutes ago." "That's probably just from biting my tongue during the crash." Koth wanted to scream. Instead, he took a deep breath and tried to think logically. He'd read the file on humans when Dae-hyun first joined the crew 6 months ago. Humans were classified as a Class 4 endurance species. They could regulate their body temperature through water secretion. They could survive on a wide range of foods. They healed faster than many species. But the file had said nothing about this. Nothing about walking with a broken spine. Nothing about functioning with enough injuries to kill a Vrelian 3 times over. They reached a junction where the corridor split in 3 directions. Dae-hyun stopped and looked around, breathing hard. Koth noticed the human was sweating heavily. The file had mentioned that was normal for humans under stress, but it still looked disturbing. "Clear liquid just pouring out of the skin. Which way?" Dae-hyun asked. "I don't know. The ship's layout is scrambled from the crash." Dae-hyun nodded, then suddenly swayed. His face went pale, and for a moment Koth thought he would finally collapse. But the human just put his hand on the wall and steadied himself. "Low blood sugar," Dae-hyun muttered. He reached into his pocket with his good hand and pulled out something wrapped in foil. He tore it open with his teeth and ate what looked like a compressed food bar. "Haven't eaten in 8 hours. Bad idea when you're injured," Koth stared. "You're thinking about food now?" "The body needs fuel to heal," Dae-hyun said, chewing. "Basic biology, remember?" That was the moment Koth realized he knew nothing about humans at all. A voice called out from the left corridor. "Hello, is someone there?" "That's Bix." Dae-hyun started moving toward the voice. They found Bix around the corner, trapped under a fallen panel. The Thranks looked unhurt, just stuck. Bix had a body like Earth insects with multiple legs and a hard shell, but much larger and capable of speech. "Dae-hyun." "Thank goodness," Bix said in their clicking language, translated by the universal communicator on their collar. "I've been stuck here for ages. Can you help lift this?" "Sure." Dae-hyun bent down and grabbed the panel with his right hand. "Wait," Koth shouted. "You cannot lift heavy objects with your injuries." Dae-hyun lifted anyway. The panel was large and made of reinforced metal. It should have required 2 healthy people to move it. The human grunted with effort, his face going red, and lifted one edge high enough for Bix to scuttle free. Then Dae-hyun dropped the panel and stood there, breathing hard. Koth ran another scan. The readout made his blood run cold. You just made 3 of your rib fractures worse, he said quietly. One of them is now very close to your lung. But Bix is free, Daehyun said. That's what matters. Bix looked at Koth's scanner, then at Daehyun. You're injured? How badly? 17 fractures, Koth said. He has 17 broken bones and he's walking around like it's nothing. Bix's antennae shot straight up. 17? That's impossible. No one survives 17 broken bones. Humans apparently do, Koth said. Daehyun waved his good hand dismissively. They're mostly small fractures. It's not that bad. Koth pulled up the detailed scan on his device and showed it to Bix. The Thranks leaned in to look, their compound eyes examining the readout carefully. These are not small fractures, Bix said slowly. This collarbone is completely separated. These ribs are cracked in multiple places. The bones in your left arm are displaced. How are you not screaming in pain? It hurts, Daehyun admitted. But screaming doesn't help. We need to find Captain Yuna and the others. Koth felt his understanding of medicine crumbling. He had spent years studying xenobiology, learning how different species worked. He knew that Thranks could regenerate lost limbs. He knew that Vrelians like himself could survive in extreme cold. He knew that Lithians could repair their crystalline bodies with simple compounds. But humans? Humans were supposed to be fragile. They needed specific temperature ranges. They needed oxygen at exact concentrations. They had soft skin that tore easily and bones that broke under stress. Yet here was Daehyun, broken in 17 places, talking calmly about finding the captain. Let me try something, Koth said. He adjusted his scanner to run a deeper analysis. The device hummed as it examined Daehyun's cellular structure. What he saw made no sense. Your bone cells are already repairing themselves, Koth said, staring at the readout. The fractures, they're already starting to calcify. How long ago did this injury occur? Daehyun thought for a moment. Maybe 30 minutes, 40? 40 minutes and you're already healing? That's impossible. Bone repair takes weeks, months even. For humans, it takes about 6 to 8 weeks for a complete fracture to heal, Daehyun said. But the process starts pretty quickly. 6 to 8 weeks. Koth's species needed almost a year for major bone injuries. Most species did. But humans could repair their skeletons in weeks? What kind of death world did you evolve on? Bix asked quietly. Daehyun smiled, though it looked more like a grimace of pain. Earth's gravity is about 1.2 times galactic standard. Most of you find it uncomfortable to visit. For us, it's home. We evolved to handle falls, impacts, and injuries. Our bones break, but they also heal. This is your 3rd broken collarbone, Koth said, remembering what Daehyun had mentioned earlier. 3rd time. How often do humans break their bones? Pretty often when we're kids, Daehyun said. I broke my arm twice, my collarbone twice before this, a couple fingers, my nose once. Most humans have broken something by the time they're adults. Bix made a sound like clicking laughter. Your children break their structural supports regularly? During what? Combat training? Playing, Daehyun said. Sports, climbing trees, riding bicycles. Normal kid stuff, normal kid stuff. Koth felt dizzy. Human children regularly fractured their skeletons during recreational activities, and this was considered normal. I need to update the medical database. Koth muttered. Everything we know about humans is wrong. Can we update it after we find the captain? Daehyun asked. She's probably injured too. He was right, of course. Koth put away his scanner and nodded. Yes, but you must let me know if your condition worsens. Sure, Daehyun said. If I start dying, you'll be the first to know. The human started walking again, limping badly now, but still moving forward. Koth and Bix followed, exchanging worried looks. Koth had a terrible feeling that his understanding of humans had only scratched the surface. What else could these creatures survive? What other impossible things were normal for them? He wasn't sure he wanted to know. The search party now had 3 members. Daehyun led the way, moving slowly but steadily through the broken ship. Koth followed close behind, his medical scanner ready. Bix brought up the rear, their many legs making soft clicking sounds on the metal floor. They found Gorham in what used to be the cargo bay. The Lithian was sitting against a wall, their crystalline body glowing faintly in the emergency lights. Lithians looked like walking sculptures made of colored glass, and Gorham's body was a deep purple color. Oh good, Gorham said, their voice sounding like wind chimes. I was wondering if anyone else survived. Are you hurt? Koth asked immediately, scanner already pointing. A few cracks in my lower structure, Gorham said, standing up. Their left leg had visible fractures running through the crystal. Nothing that some silicon compound won't fix. What about everyone else? Daehyun has 17 broken bones, Bix said. Gorham's whole body flashed bright purple, which for Lithians meant shock. 17? But he's standing. He's walking. How? Apparently that's just what humans do, Koth said tiredly. Daehyun leaned against a cargo container, breathing hard. We need to find Captain Yuna. She was on the bridge when we crashed. Gorham, can you still access the ship's systems? Gorham moved to a wall panel and placed their crystalline hand on it. Lithians could interface directly with electronic systems, reading data through touch. After a moment, they pulled back. The main computer is offline, Gorham said, but I'm reading life signs in the forward section. 2 signatures. One is definitely Yuna. I recognize her biopattern. The other is probably Tala from navigation. How far? Daehyun asked. Maybe 100 meters, but the path isn't clear. The ship broke apart in the crash. We'll have to climb through debris. Daehyun nodded and pushed himself away from the container. Then let's go. The path to the forward section was like climbing through a nightmare. The ship's corridors were crushed and twisted. In some places, they had to crawl through gaps barely wide enough for Daehyun's shoulders. In other places, they had to climb over piles of debris. Koth watched in horror as Daehyun squeezed through a narrow opening, the human's broken ribs scraping against the metal edges. Daehyun made a small sound of pain but kept moving. This is insane, Koth muttered. This is completely insane. Humans are insane, Bix agreed. I'm starting to understand that now. They reached a vertical shaft where a ladder led down to the next level. The ladder was intact, but it was a 5-meter drop. I'll go first, Daehyun said. No, Koth said firmly. You have fractures in both legs and your spine. Climbing down a ladder could paralyze you. Then how do we get down? Gorham pointed to a cable hanging nearby. We could use that to lower ourselves. The cable might not hold our weight, Bix said. While they were discussing, Daehyun grabbed the ladder with his good hand and started climbing down. He moved carefully, using mostly his right side, but he was moving. Or he could just do that, Gorham said. Sure, why not? Koth wanted to close his eyes but forced himself to watch. If Daehyun fell, someone needed to be ready to help. But the human made it down, step by painful step, until his feet touched the lower level. See? Daehyun called up. Easy. The others climbed down after him. When Koth reached the bottom, he immediately scanned Daehyun again. The leg fractures had gotten worse. One of the small cracks in his shin had spread. You just made your injuries worse again, Koth said. But we're closer to the captain, Daehyun replied. That seemed to be the human's answer to everything. As long as they were making progress, the injuries didn't matter. They continued forward. The emergency lights were failing in this section, and they had to use the flashlights built into their communicators. The beams of light showed more destruction. Panels hung from the ceiling. Wires sparked. The floor was covered in broken glass and metal fragments. Daehyun's foot crunched on something. He looked down and saw his own engineering toolkit, crushed flat by fallen debris. He stared at it for a moment. I really like that toolkit, he said quietly. Had it since my first assignment. I will buy you a new toolkit if you promise to stop breaking yourself, Koth said. Daehyun actually laughed at that, though it turned into a cough. Deal. They found a section where the floor had collapsed entirely, leaving a gap about 3 meters wide. Below the gap was darkness and the sound of hissing gas. Probably a leak from one of the fuel lines. We'll have to jump across, Gorham said. Koth looked at Daehyun. You cannot jump 3 meters with broken legs. Watch me, Daehyun said. Before anyone could stop him, the human ran toward the gap. His run was more like a fast limp, but he built up speed. When he reached the edge, he jumped. For a moment he was in the air, arms windmilling. Then he hit the other side, his feet landing on the edge. He teetered for a second, about to fall backward into the gap. Bix, who had jumped across easily with their powerful legs, grabbed Daehyun's good arm and pulled him forward. The human fell onto his hands and knees, breathing hard. That was stupid, Bix said. But it worked, Daehyun gasped. Gorham and Koth made the jump without trouble. Koth immediately scanned Daehyun again and made a sound of pure frustration. You've now created 2 new fractures, Koth said. Small ones in your feet. Do you understand what you're doing to yourself? Daehyun stood up slowly. I understand that Captain Yuna needs help. That's all that matters right now. They were close now. Gorham could sense the life signs getting stronger. Just one more corridor and they'd reach the bridge section, but when they turned the corner they found their path blocked. A massive piece of the hull had fallen across the corridor, completely sealing it off. There was no way around it, no gap to squeeze through. "We'll have to move it," Daehyun said. "That's impossible," Gorham said. "That piece weighs at least a ton." Daehyun examined the debris carefully. "If we can lift this end just a little, enough to wedge something under it, we can use leverage to push it aside." "You cannot lift anything in your condition," Koth said. "Then you all will have to lift while I wedge something underneath." Bix clicked their mandibles thoughtfully. "It might work. Gorham and I are strong. Koth can help, but you need to stay back, Daehyun." For once, the human agreed. "Okay, I'll find something to use as a wedge." Bix, Gorham, and Koth positioned themselves at one end of the fallen hull section. On the count of 3, they lifted. The metal groaned but moved up a few centimeters. "Now," Bix shouted. Daehyun shoved a piece of broken pipe under the gap. The others let go, and the hull section settled onto the pipe. It held. "Good," Gorham said. "Now we just need to push it to the side." They all pushed together. Even Daehyun helped, using his right shoulder and ignoring the pain from his broken left collarbone. Slowly, centimeter by centimeter, the hull section moved. After 5 minutes of hard work, they'd created a gap just wide enough to squeeze through. On the other side, they could see the bridge entrance. The door was half open and there were lights inside. "Captain," Daehyun called out. "Captain Yuna," a weak voice answered from inside. "Daehyun?"
"Is that you?"
Relief flooded through the human's face. "Yes, Captain. We're here. We're getting you out." As they squeezed through the gap and entered the bridge, Koth realized something important. Daehyun had kept moving despite impossible injuries because he had a purpose. The captain needed help. The crew needed him. Humans, Koth thought, might be the most stubborn species in the galaxy, and maybe that was exactly what made them so hard to kill. The bridge was a disaster. The main view screen was shattered, showing the gray sky of the moon outside. Control panels sparked and smoked. Papers and data pads were scattered everywhere. And in the center of it all, pinned under the navigation console, was Captain Yuna Lee. "Captain." Daehyun rushed forward as fast as his broken legs would carry him. Yuna was conscious, which was a good sign. She was a small woman, even by human standards, with short black hair and sharp eyes. Right now, those eyes showed pain, but also relief at seeing her crew. "Took you long enough," she said, trying to smile. "I was starting to think I'd have to rescue myself." Koth pushed past Daehyun and immediately began scanning the captain. His device beeped rapidly. "Broken femur in the left leg," he reported. "Possible internal bleeding, concussion, multiple lacerations." "Captain, can you feel your toes?" "Yes," Yuna said. "Everything hurts, but I can feel it all." "That's good, right?" "That's very good." Koth looked at the heavy console pinning her down. "We need to lift this carefully. If we move her wrong, the broken bone could damage an artery." Beside the captain, they found Tala, the navigation officer. Tala was a Vrelian like Koth, and she was unconscious but breathing. A quick scan showed she had a severe concussion but no broken bones. "Tala hit her head when we crashed," Yuna explained. "She's been out the whole time. I couldn't reach her to check if she was okay." Gorham knelt beside Tala and gently touched her forehead. "Her life signs are stable. She'll wake up soon." "Good," Yuna said. Then she noticed how Daehyun was standing. He was leaning heavily to one side, his left arm hanging uselessly, his breathing shallow. "Daehyun, you're hurt." "I'm fine, Captain. Don't lie to your commanding officer." Yuna's voice was stern despite her situation. "How bad is it?" Koth answered before Daehyun could. 17 fractures. Broken ribs, collarbone, arm, legs, and spine. He's been walking around like this for over an hour. Yuna's eyes went wide. 17? Daehyun, you should be in surgery, not running around the ship. You were trapped, Captain. We had to find you. And now you've found me, so you're going to sit down and let Koth treat you. After we get you out from under that console. Yuna stared at him for a long moment. Then she sighed. You're the most stubborn engineer I've ever had. Thank you, Captain. That wasn't a compliment. Bix examined the console, pinning Yuna down. This is going to be tricky. We need to lift it straight up, not tilt it. If it tilts, it might crush her leg worse. I can support one side, Gorham said. My crystalline structure is strong even with the cracks. Bix and I can take the other side, Koth said. But we need someone to pull the captain free the moment we lift. Everyone looked at Dae-hyun. He was the only other person there, and someone had to do it. I can do it, Dae-hyun said. You have one working arm, Koth pointed out. One arm is enough. Yuna reached out and grabbed Dae-hyun's hand with her own. Listen to me carefully. When they lift that console, you pull me straight back. Don't twist, don't turn. Straight back. Understand? Yes, Captain. And if you feel like you're going to pass out, you tell me immediately. I won't pass out. Dae-hyun. Yes, Captain. I'll tell you if I'm going to pass out. They got into position. Gorem, Bix, and Koth surrounded the console, their hands finding good grips. Dae-hyun knelt beside Yuna, his right arm ready to pull her free. On 3, Bix said. 1, 2, 3. They lifted. The console was heavy, much heavier than it looked. Gorem's crystalline body glowed brighter as they put all their strength into it. Koth's thin arm shook with effort. Bix's many legs braced against the floor. The console rose 1 centimeter. Then 2, then 5 now, Koth shouted. Dae-hyun grabbed Yuna under her shoulders and pulled. She cried out in pain as her broken leg moved, but Dae-hyun kept pulling, smooth and steady, just like she'd instructed. 3 seconds later, she was clear. Drop it, Bix said. They released the console. It crashed back down with a massive bang, denting the floor where Yuna had been lying just moments before. Koth immediately moved to examine Yuna's leg. The break was bad, but the bone hadn't punctured the skin. That was good. He pulled out an emergency splint from his medical kit and began carefully immobilizing the leg. Yuna gritted her teeth through the pain. When Koth was done, she let out a long breath. Thank you, she said to all of them. Thank you for coming to find me. Of course, Captain, Gorem said. We're a crew. Dae-hyun had moved away from the group and was sitting against the wall, his eyes closed. His face was very pale and sweat was pouring down his forehead. Yuna saw him and her expression shifted from relief to concern. Koth, check on Dae-hyun now. Koth ran another scan. The readout made him grimace. His blood pressure is dropping. He's going into shock. We need to get him medical attention soon or his body will start shutting down. How long does he have? Yuna asked. Maybe an hour, maybe less. Yuna tried to sit up, winced at the pain in her leg, but managed to prop herself on her elbows. Dae-hyun, look at me. The engineer opened his eyes. You did good, Yuna said. You saved my life. But now you need to let us help you, okay? Okay, Captain, Dae-hyun said quietly. Bix moved to the bridge's communications panel. Most of it was destroyed, but one emergency beacon was still functioning. I can send out a distress signal. The Andromeda station should pick it up. Do it, Yuna ordered, and send our exact coordinates. Tell them we have multiple injuries and need immediate medical evacuation. While Bix worked on the signal, Koth began treating Dae-hyun as best he could with his limited supplies. He gave the human an injection for pain, though he wasn't sure if the dosage was right for human biology. He wrapped the broken ribs and immobilized the arm and collarbone. Why do humans break so easily but keep functioning? Koth asked as he worked. It makes no sense, Yuna answered from where she lay. We evolved on a dangerous planet. Our ancestors had to keep moving even when injured or they'd die. The ones who could push through pain survived and had children. The ones who couldn't didn't. Your entire species is built on stubbornness? Pretty much, yes. Gorem laughed, their crystalline body chiming. I'm starting to understand why humans are good at exploration and engineering. You don't know when to quit. Quitting is for species that can afford to quit, Yuna said. Earth didn't give us that option. Tala groaned and opened her eyes. What happened? Where am I? You're safe, Koth said, immediately moving to check on her. We crashed, but we're all alive. Stay still, you have a concussion. The distress beacon activated with a loud beep. Bix adjusted the frequency and sent out the emergency message. Signal is transmitting. Someone should pick it up within the hour. Good, Yuna said. She looked at her crew, battered and broken but alive. Dae-hyun sat against the wall, his eyes half closed. Tala was confused but conscious. Gorem had cracks in their crystalline structure. Bix seemed mostly unhurt, and she herself was pinned down with a broken leg. But they were alive. That was what mattered. Dae-hyun, she said. The engineer looked at her. Next time I order you to get medical treatment, you do it immediately. That's a direct order. Yes, Captain, he said, managing a small smile. But you were trapped. Someone had to find you. You're impossible. Thank you, Captain. Yuna shook her head, but she was smiling too. Humans might be stubborn and breakable, but they were also loyal and brave, and right now, she was grateful to have this particular human on her crew, even if he did have 17 broken bones and refused to stay down. They waited in the broken bridge for rescue. Koth used the time to run more detailed scans on everyone, documenting their injuries for the medical teams that would arrive, but he kept coming back to Daehyun, scanning him again and again because what he was seeing couldn't be real. "This is impossible," Koth muttered, staring at his scanner. "What's impossible?" Yuna asked from where she lay. "The fractures. They're already calcifying. Look." He showed her the scanner display. "This scan is from 40 minutes ago when I first found him. This scan is from now. See the difference?" Yuna studied the readout. She wasn't a medical expert, but even she could see the change. The breaks in Daehyun's bones were starting to fill in with new bone material. "How fast do humans heal?" she asked. "For a complete fracture, about 6 to 8 weeks, Koth said. "But the process begins immediately. The body sends special cells to the injury site within minutes. Those cells start building new bone." Gorham moved closer to look. "My species can repair cracks in our crystalline structure, but it requires external silicon compounds. We can't just heal ourselves from the inside." "Neither can we," Bix added. "If I lose a limb, it takes months to regrow, and I need to be in a special regeneration chamber." Koth sat down heavily, his scanner still displaying Daehyun's bone structure. "I need to completely rewrite the medical database entry for humans. Everything we thought we knew is wrong." "What do you mean?" Tala asked. She was sitting up now, holding her head where it hurt. "Humans aren't fragile," Koth said. "We thought they were because they need such specific conditions. Exact oxygen levels, narrow temperature range, careful dietary requirements. We classified them as delicate endurance specialists. But they're not delicate at all." He pointed at Daehyun, who was dozing against the wall. "That human has 17 broken bones. He walked over a kilometer through a destroyed ship. He lifted heavy debris. He climbed ladders. He jumped across gaps. And now his body is already repairing itself." "Earth must be a terrible place," Bix said quietly. Yuna laughed, though it hurt her broken leg. "Earth is beautiful, but it's also deadly. When humans evolved, we had to compete with creatures that were bigger, stronger, and faster than us. We had predators that could kill us easily. We had weather that could freeze us or burn us. We had diseases and parasites and 1,000 different ways to die." "How did your species survive?" Gorham asked. "By being stubborn," Yuna said, "and by healing fast, and by working together. A human alone is tough but not invincible, but humans in groups? We're very hard to stop." She looked at her crew, a mix of different species from different worlds. "That's why I wanted humans on exploration ships. Not because we're the strongest or the smartest, but because we don't quit." Koth was still processing this new understanding. "Tell me about Earth," he said. "I want to understand." Yuna shifted to get more comfortable, wincing at the movement. "Earth's gravity is higher than most civilized worlds. What feels heavy to you is normal to us. We evolved in that gravity, so our bones are dense and our muscles are strong." "I've noticed that," Gorham said. "When we visited Earth for crew training, everything felt heavier. I had to adjust my crystalline structure just to walk normally. The atmosphere is 21% oxygen," Yuna continued, "which you all think of as corrosive and dangerous. But to us it's perfect. We need that much oxygen to fuel our bodies." "Oxygen is a reactive chemical," Bix said. "It causes cellular damage over time." "Yes," Yuna agreed. "That's probably why humans age faster than most species. But it also means we have a lot of energy. We can run for long distances. We can work for hours without rest. Our bodies burn hot and fast." Koth thought about the human biology files he'd studied. Humans regulate temperature through water secretion. Sweating, you call it? Right, most species can't do that. You have to find shade or change your environment to cool down. But humans can cool ourselves from the inside. It means we can survive in very hot climates. "What about cold?" Tala asked. "We're not as good with cold," Yuna admitted. "But we adapted. We learned to make fire, build shelters, create clothing. When our biology wasn't enough, we used our intelligence." Daehyun stirred and opened his eyes. "Are we talking about Earth?" "Koth wants to understand how humans can be so breakable and so durable at the same time," Yuna said. Daehyun thought for a moment. "We break easy because our bodies are designed to heal. It's more efficient than being unbreakable. A bone can crack and repair itself stronger than before. That's better than having bones that never break but also never heal. Explain that, Gorham said. How does breaking make you stronger? When a bone heals, the new bone at the break site is denser than the original bone. It's called a callus, so if you break your arm once it heals, that spot is actually stronger than the rest of your arm. Bix's antennae waved in confusion. Your bodies turn injuries into improvements? Sort of, yes. It's why human athletes train so hard. You break down your muscles and they rebuild stronger. You stress your bones and they become denser. Pain is temporary, but the improvements last. Koth was writing all of this down on his datapad. What about pain tolerance? Most species would be unconscious with your level of injuries. Humans have good pain management, Daehyun said. Our brains can release chemicals that reduce pain. Endorphins, adrenaline. When we're in danger, our body automatically numbs us so we can keep functioning. That's cheating, Bix said. Daehyun laughed, then coughed. Maybe, but it keeps us alive. Tell them about the persistence hunting, Yuna said. Oh, right. Daehyun shifted to get more comfortable. Before humans developed advanced tools, we hunted by chasing animals until they collapsed from exhaustion. We're not the fastest species, but we can run longer than almost anything else. How long? Gorham asked. There are humans who run for 26 miles without stopping. Some run for 100 miles. The record is over 300 miles. There was silence on the bridge. The alien stared at Daehyun like he'd just said humans could fly. 300 miles, Koth repeated slowly. That's impossible. It takes a few days, Daehyun said. And you have to eat and drink while running. But yes, humans can do it. Why would anyone do that? Tala asked. Because we can, Daehyun said simply. Because it's challenging. Because it pushes the limits of what a human body can do. Bix clicked their mandibles rapidly, which was their species' version of nervous laughter. Humans are insane. You break yourselves for fun. You run until your body wants to shut down. You evolved on a planet that tries to kill you and you call it home. Sounds about right, Yuna said, smiling. Koth looked at his scanner one more time. The bones were still healing. New material filling in the cracks. In a few weeks, Daehyun would be completely recovered. Those 17 breaks would all heal. And the engineer would go back to work like nothing had happened. I'm starting to understand why humans are good explorers, Koth said. You're built to survive places that would kill everyone else. Not just survive, Yuna corrected. Thrive. Give a human a challenge and we'll find a way to overcome it. Give us a dangerous environment and we'll adapt to it. Give us a problem that seems impossible and we'll try anyway. Because you don't know when to quit, Gorham said. Exactly. A beeping sound came from Bix's communicator. The rescue ships are responding to our signal. They'll be here in 20 minutes. Good, Yuna said. Koth, make sure you send them all your medical scans. They need to be prepared to treat humans. I'll send everything, Koth promised, though I'm not sure they'll believe the data. They will when they meet Daehyun, Bix said. The engineer waved weakly with his good hand. Happy to be a teaching example. As they waited for rescue, Koth thought about everything he'd learned. Humans weren't delicate. They were resilient. They weren't weak. They were stubborn. They didn't just survive, they persisted. And perhaps most importantly, they didn't let broken bones stop them from saving their friends. He made a final note in his medical log. Human durability severely underestimated. Recommend all medical personnel receive additional training in human biology. Warning, do not believe a human who says they are fine. They are never fine. They're just too stubborn to admit it. The rescue ships arrived exactly 20 minutes later, just as predicted. They were medical transports from the Andromeda station, equipped with the best trauma equipment in the sector. Their lights cut through the gray sky of the moon as they descended near the crashed stellar horizon. Koth had sent all his medical data ahead, including detailed scans of every crew member's injuries. He'd marked Daehyun's file with a red priority flag and added notes explaining the severity of the fractures. The rescue team came rushing through the broken ship, carrying stretchers and medical equipment. They were led by Sira, a Vrelian doctor known throughout the sector for her skills in emergency medicine. She had gray skin like Koth, but with distinctive blue markings that indicated advanced medical training. Where's the critical patient? Sira called out as she entered the bridge. Koth pointed to Daehyun, who was still sitting against the wall. There. 17 fractures, multiple sites. He's been mobile for over 2 hours. Sira stopped in her tracks. Mobile, with 17 fractures? That's not possible. He's human, Koth said, as if that explained everything. I can see that, but... Sira approached Daehyun and pulled out her own scanner. She ran it over him carefully, her eyes growing wider with each reading. This is accurate? He really has 17 broken bones, 17 that we know of, Koth said. There might be more small fractures we missed. Sira looked at Daehyun. How are you conscious? Coffee mostly, Daehyun said. And stubbornness. This is not a joking matter. You need immediate surgery. Multiple surgeries, probably. We need to set these bones correctly or they'll heal wrong. They'll heal fine, Daehyun said. I've broken bones before. They always heal. Sira's face showed the same expression Koth had worn for the past 2 hours, a mixture of confusion and horror. You've broken bones before? Multiple times? Most humans have, Yuna said from her stretcher. The rescue team had already loaded her onto it and splinted her leg properly. It's normal for us. Normal, Sira repeated weakly. She looked at her medical team. Get me a sedative. We need to transport this human immediately. I don't need a sedative, Daehyun protested. I can walk to the ship. You absolutely cannot walk anywhere. Sira pulled a syringe from her medical kit. This will help with the pain and make transport easier. Will it work on human biology? Daehyun asked. A lot of standard medications don't affect us correctly. Sira paused, the syringe halfway to Daehyun's arm. What do you mean they don't work correctly? Human neurochemistry is different from most species, Koth explained. I gave him a pain medication earlier, but I'm not sure if it did anything. It helped a little, Daehyun said. Took the edge off. Just the edge? Koth stared. I gave you enough to put Avrelian into deep sleep. Humans have very efficient livers, Yuna said. We process drugs quickly. It's because of our high oxygen metabolism. Everything in our bodies runs faster. Sira slowly put the syringe away. I'm going to need to completely review human medical protocols. This is unprecedented. Join the club, Koth muttered. The rescue team carefully loaded everyone onto stretchers. Tala and Gurim could walk with assistance, so they didn't need to be carried. Bix walked on their own 6 legs, apparently uninjured except for minor bruising. When they tried to put Daehyun on a stretcher, he initially refused. I can walk. I don't want to waste resources. You have 17 broken bones, Sira said firmly. You're getting on this stretcher even if I have to order my team to tie you to it. Yuna laughed from her own stretcher. Daehyun, that's a direct order from a medical officer. You have to comply. Fine, Daehyun sighed. He let the rescue team help him onto the stretcher, wincing as they moved his broken limbs. The journey back to the rescue ships was slow and careful. The medical teams used gravity lifts to carry the stretchers, floating them over the rough terrain of the moon's surface. Daehyun kept trying to look around, wanting to see the damage to the stellar horizon. She's a total loss, Sira said, noticing his attention. The ship broke in half. You're lucky anyone survived. We had a good engineer, Yuna said, smiling at Daehyun. He kept the engines running long enough for us to make a controlled crash instead of just exploding. Controlled is generous, Daehyun said. We hit pretty hard, but we're alive. That's what matters. On board the rescue ship, they were taken to the medical bay. It was a large room filled with advanced equipment, monitors displaying vital signs in multiple languages, and medical beds that could adjust for different species' needs. Sira immediately began setting up for surgery. We'll start with the human. His injuries are the most severe. Actually, Koth said carefully, Captain Yuna should go first. She has internal bleeding that needs immediate attention. I'm fine, Yuna said. Take care of my engineer first. Captain, with respect, you're not fine. Your scan shows blood pooling in your abdominal cavity. Yuna's face went pale. Oh, that's not good. No, it's not. Koth looked at Sira. Captain first, definitely. Sira nodded and redirected her team. They took Yuna into the operating theater immediately. Daehyun watched them go, worry clear on his face. She'll be okay, Koth said quietly. Internal bleeding is serious, but Sira is the best surgeon on Andromeda Station. She should have told us she was bleeding internally, Daehyun said. Like you told us about your 17 fractures? Daehyun had no answer for that. While they waited for the captain's surgery, Sira's medical team ran more comprehensive scans on Daehyun. They were young doctors, probably still in training, and they treated the human like a fascinating puzzle. Look at the bone density, one said, pointing at a screen. It's significantly higher than the galactic average. And the muscle attachment points, another added. They're reinforced, built for high stress loads. The cardiovascular system is incredible. 4 chambers in the heart, high-pressure system, can deliver oxygen extremely efficiently. Dae-hyun listened to them discuss his body like he wasn't there. It was strange, but also interesting. He'd never really thought about how different humans were from other species. To him, this was just normal. After an hour, Sierra emerged from the operating theater. She looked tired but satisfied. "Captain Yuna is stable," she announced. "We repaired the internal bleeding and set her leg properly. She'll need a few weeks of recovery, but she'll make a full recovery." Relief flooded through Dae-hyun. "Thank you, doctor. Now it's your turn." Sierra approached his bed. "I've been reviewing the human medical database while working on the captain. I have to admit, your species is fascinating." "Fascinating meaning weird?" "Fascinating meaning I have no idea how you're still conscious." Sierra pulled up his scans on a nearby screen. "These injuries would kill most species. The fact that you walked around for hours with them is medically impossible." "Humans are good at impossible things," Dae-hyun said. "Apparently." Sierra studied the scans carefully. "Here's what concerns me. Several of these fractures are in positions where they could heal incorrectly if we don't set them properly. I recommend surgery to insert stabilizing pins and plates. Will that work with human bones?" "I believe so. Human bones are similar enough to Vrelian bones that the same techniques should work. But I want your permission before we proceed." Dae-hyun thought about it. "Will it help me heal faster?" "Yes. With proper stabilization, you could be back to normal activity in 4 to 6 weeks instead of 8 to 10. "Then let's do it. I've got a ship to help rebuild," Sierra smiled. "You're already thinking about going back to work?" "You literally just crashed. Ships don't fix themselves, Doctor. You humans and your work ethic." But Sierra was smiling. "All right. We'll prep you for surgery, but I'm warning you now. You're staying in medical for at least a week. No arguments. A week? That's too long." "Dae-hyun," Sierra's voice became stern. "You have 17 broken bones. You will stay in medical for as long as I say." "Captain's orders." "The captain is unconscious from surgery." "Then doctor's orders, which are just as binding." "Now, are you going to cooperate, or do I need to have you restrained?" Dae-hyun sighed. "I'll cooperate." "Good. Now let's get you fixed up properly." As they wheeled him toward the operating theater, Dae-hyun had one final question. "Dr. Sierra, yes? After this, will you update the medical database so other doctors know how to treat humans correctly?" Sierra nodded. "I'm already planning a complete revision. By the time I'm done, every doctor in the sector will know that when a human says they're fine, they're probably lying." "That's fair," Dae-hyun admitted. And then they put him under, finally giving his broken body the chance to rest and heal properly. 3 months later, Dae-hyun stood in the docking bay of Andromeda Station looking at his new assignment. The ship was called Horizon's Hope, a name chosen by Captain Yuna to honor their crashed vessel. It was bigger than the stellar Horizon, with better engines and more advanced systems. Dae-hyun's bones had healed completely, just as he'd said they would. The pins and plates Sierra had inserted were still there, would probably stay there forever, but they didn't bother him. If anything, his bones felt stronger than before. "Beautiful ship," a voice said behind him. He turned to see Captain Yuna walking up, no longer using the crutches she'd needed for the first month. Her leg had healed well, though she still had a slight limp when she was tired. "Captain," Dae-hyun nodded respectfully. "Good to see you up and walking. Good to see you not covered in blood and broken bones." She smiled. "Though I heard you tried to leave medical after 3 days. I felt fine. Sierra told me she had to threaten you with sedation to keep you in bed." Dae-hyun shrugged. "There was work to do. The station needed help with repairs after they rescued us. Always working." Yuna shook her head, but she looked pleased. "That's exactly why I requested you for this crew. You don't quit." "You requested me specifically?" "Of course. Best engineer I've ever worked with. Plus now I know you'll keep functioning even if the ship falls apart around us." She grinned. "That's a useful trait in an engineer." They walked together toward the ship's entrance. The docking bay was busy with crews loading supplies and running final checks. The Horizon's Hope was scheduled to launch in 2 days for a 6-month exploration mission to uncharted systems. "Have you met the new crew yet?" Yuna asked. "Not yet. I've been studying the ship's systems. Of course you have. Yuna pulled up a data pad. We've got an interesting group. Koth is coming with us as Chief Medical Officer. He specifically requested the position. That's good. He's a good doctor, once you get past his tendency to panic about human durability. We also have Bix from the old crew, plus some new members. A Thranx navigator named Crix, a Lithian engineer to assist you, and 2 more humans. Daehyun looked surprised. 2 more humans? That's unusual. Most ships only have 1. After what happened, I decided I wanted more humans on my crew. Your resilience saved lives during the crash. I want that advantage going forward. They entered the ship through the main airlock. The interior was clean and new, smelling of fresh metal and synthetic materials. Everything was state-of-the-art, from the gravity generators to the life support systems. The crew was gathered in the common area, waiting for the captain. Daehyun recognized Koth and Bix immediately. Koth waved enthusiastically, his gray face showing what might have been excitement. Bix clicked their mandibles in greeting. The new navigator, Crix, was another Thranx. They were smaller than Bix, with bright green markings on their shell. They looked nervous, antennae twitching. The Lithian engineer was deep blue in color, their crystalline body reflecting the ship's lights. They introduced themselves as Hana, and their voice sounded like soft music. The 2 new humans were named Jiho and Minji. Jiho was tall and muscular, clearly someone who spent time maintaining peak physical condition. Minji was shorter, with quick eyes that seemed to catalog everything around her. Everyone, Yuna announced. This is Daehyun Park, our chief engineer. Some of you already know him from the stellar horizon. Crix immediately raised a leg, which was the Thranx gesture for asking a question. Is it true that humans can break their structural frames and continue functioning? There was a moment of awkward silence. Here we go, Daehyun muttered. Bix clicked with amusement. Oh yes, here we go indeed. Daehyun is famous now. Everyone in the sector has heard about the human who walked around with 17 broken bones. 17? Minji whistled. That's impressive, even for us. It wasn't impressive, Daehyun said. It was necessary. The captain was trapped and someone had to find her. Still impressive, Jiho said. I've broken bones before, but never that many at once. Crix's antennae waved frantically. You've broken bones? Multiple times? On purpose? Not on purpose, Jiho laughed. Accidents mostly. Sports injuries, training mishaps, that kind of thing. I broke my ankle once, Minji added. Finished the mission anyway. Got in trouble with the medical officer for not reporting it immediately. Koth made a sound of distress. Why do humans do this? Why do you not report injuries? Because there's usually work to be done, Daehyun said. We can deal with pain. We can't deal with leaving jobs unfinished. This is insane, Crix said. Respectfully, humans are insane. Probably, Yuna agreed. But we're useful insane. And that's what makes us good explorers. She gestured for everyone to sit. The common area had seats designed for different body types. From Thranx perches to Lithian standing platforms to standard chairs for humanoids. I want to be clear about something, Yuna said once everyone was settled. We're going into uncharted space. We don't know what we'll find. There will be dangers, unknowns, situations where we need to adapt quickly. She looked around at each crew member. I chose each of you because you're good at what you do, but also because you don't give up. Koth, you've worked in emergency medicine for 20 years. You stay calm under pressure. Bix, you navigate through situations that would confuse most pilots. Crix, your test scores were the highest in your class. Hana, you can repair systems that other engineers can't even understand. Then she looked at the 3 humans. And you 3, you're humans. Which means you're stubborn, resilient, and you keep going when others would quit. Is that the official reason you requested us? Jiho asked, smiling. That's the official reason, yes. Unofficially, I trust humans. We understand each other. We come from the same difficult world, and that creates a bond. Crix raised a leg again. May I ask a question? I've been reading about Earth, trying to understand humans better. Is it true your planet is classified as a death world? Depends on who's doing the classifying, Minji said. To us, it's just home. But it's true that Earth is unusually dangerous? Crix pressed. High gravity, reactive atmosphere, extreme weather, dangerous predators. All true, Daehyun confirmed. Earth isn't easy. But that's why we're good at exploration. We're used to hostile environments. Hana's crystalline body chimed softly. I visited Earth once for engineering training. I had to wear a support exoskeleton just to walk normally. The gravity was crushing. How do you live like that? We don't know any different, Dae-hyun said. To us, that gravity is normal. Actually, a lot of us find low gravity uncomfortable. Makes us feel too light, like we might float away. I have a question, Bick said. After the crash, after everything that happened, are you afraid to fly again? To go back into space where accidents can happen? Dae-hyun thought about it. Fear is natural, but we don't let it stop us. Ships crash. People get injured. That's part of exploration. If we let fear control us, we'd never leave Earth. But doesn't the fear serve a purpose? Crix asked. It tells you when something is dangerous. Sure, Minji said. Fear tells us there's danger, but humans learn to feel fear and act anyway. That's courage. It's not about not being afraid. It's about being afraid and doing the job anyway. Koth had been quiet, listening to the conversation. Now he spoke up. I've updated the medical database based on what I learned from the crash. Every doctor in the sector now has access to better information about human biology. What did you tell them? Jiho asked, curious. That humans are more resilient than previously documented. That standard pain medications may not work correctly on humans due to rapid metabolism. That humans will often minimize their injuries and should be scanned thoroughly regardless of what they say. Koth looked at Dae-hyun, and I added a warning that if a human says they're fine, they should be immediately examined. Because they're probably not fine at all. Everyone laughed at that, including the humans. That's fair, Dae-hyun admitted. I also added information about human healing rates, pain tolerance, endurance capabilities, and psychological resilience. Koth pulled up his datapad. The database entry is now 3 times longer than before. Turns out we knew very little about humans. We're learning, Yuna said. That's what exploration is about. Learning about each other, learning about the universe, adapting to new situations. She stood up and the crew stood with her. We launch in 2 days. Use that time to familiarize yourself with the ship and with each other. We'll be together for 6 months in deep space. Trust is essential. The crew dispersed to their duties. Dae-hyun headed toward engineering, wanting to do a final check of all systems before launch. Crix followed him, antennae still twitching with curiosity. Can I ask one more question? Crix said. Sure. If you broke 17 bones and still kept working, what would it take to actually stop a human? What's your limit? Dae-hyun thought about it as they walked. I don't know, he said honestly. I've never found it, and I hope I never have to. They reached engineering and Dae-hyun began his inspection. The engines were beautiful, much better than the ones on the stellar horizon. These would take them farther into space than any ship he'd worked on before. As he worked, Crix watched, learning. The navigator asked questions about systems and tolerances, genuinely trying to understand. You know, Crix said after a while. I was nervous about working with humans.